Okay, let's talk about some of the benefits and pros of JAD um, elicitation. First off, the programmer is not limited to just one method of elicitation. This means that any of the elicitation methods can be implemented here. Observation, task analysis, anything that you would use in anything else can be used for JAD. One-on-one interviews are a good way to do it, to start it off, and then you can also insert your own questions as they're speaking. And as the stakeholder, as you're speaking with the stakeholder, you can change it to be tailored to what the stakeholder needs. So if in that situation it's not so much of a group thing anymore and you need to speak directly to one stakeholder, you can change the whole conversation to just interviewing that one stakeholder so that their ideas can be communicated to the rest of the group. You can also have multiple conversations happening at once, where you are observing what each of the stakeholders is saying and insert your own questions as needed. The programmer can look at existing documents and match them with a new system. So you are not limited to just what is new and what is old. JAD allows you to also look at the documentation that was previously done for the previous program that you were using. And you can ask the stakeholder about the new system and how they want to implement their new system to this old system. It's very easy for the programmer to get his own ideas all out as well. Let's talk about effectiveness and advantages. It promotes teamwork with the stakeholders and users. Everybody is involved. There's not one person who is supposed to be controlling the whole conversation. Everyone has a turn, and everybody has a chance to express their own ideas. And it helps to build as a group unit something much larger within the project. It enhances design quality. This is because JAD takes into account all the different, as we said earlier, the different elicitation methods that are used throughout the communication. Helps to get better ideas out and better design quality. Makes the design process faster. Well, as everybody is communicating and giving their own ideas, they're able to do that very, very quickly. And the process doesn't take a large amount of time. Say with interviews, you have to go one by one by one by one, whereas in a JAD session, you have everybody sitting there, and everybody has a chance to get their ideas out right away. And this makes it easy for the later process of trying to break down what the design is going to be. JAD also helps programmers design from what the stakeholder perspective is. As you're sitting in that group, you're talking directly with the stakeholders, and the stakeholders can give their own ideas of what they want to see. and you can sit there and the programmer can sit there and listen to what the stakeholder has to say and implement it into the system that is being designed. It also reduces costs because you're not using so much time and effort in getting out the ideas that you need. You're not one-on-oneing everybody, so it doesn't take a whole lot of time. You can one-on-one if you need to in the situation, but most of the time you're still in that group setting. So one person is speaking, but the whole group is there listening. There's nothing to implement. You don't have to have other designs. You don't have to have any kind of documentation. And it reduces costs on having to look for documentation to help in the design process. There's some downsides to it, some disadvantages. It requires that all members be experts in the project. This is very true. If you have to explain as a group, if you have to explain it to the whole group twice, it'll get very confusing for multiple members if they do not already know how the system is going to be designed or how it's already designed. You will have a lot of people talking over each other, trying to figure out what the idea of the new project will be, instead of already having all that information there present. All members are from different departments and views can vary. You're supposed to take people from every department within the business or the project group and employ them into the group, the elicitation group. And if you have somebody who's from, say, a more blue-collar side of the department and white-collar, they're going to have very different views on how the design should work. Blue collars will think of more of how they can make their job easier, and the white collar group will just try to make it so that it makes their job easier. Anyone can give input, even those with no experience. Like I was saying, the other departments or different people who are within the group can freely speak as they want. They can employ any kind of technique or anything else that they need to get their idea out. The problem is with this is if you have somebody who is completely inexperienced in the department that we're trying to fix or trying to implement this new product, programmers will have no idea how that will affect the person, the person in like the blue collar area, the blue collar departments, because they are not the ones programming or thinking about the program other than what it applies to their job. And it's very easy to start an argument. One person will think one way and another person will put their input in, and it will just turn into a giant argument of how this program is supposed to be implemented or how they want it designed to fit their own needs. So we did our own experiment or our own session with a group of people, and we took data on how a real JED elicitation session would work. And what we found was that we got a lot of great ideas because everybody was open, free to speak, give their own opinions, and we could sit back and listen to these great opinions. It was very positive. Everybody appreciated everybody's input and gave respect to the other person's ideas, even though not all of them will be implemented in this next project. It was hard to speak over people. One person would want to speak, and then another person would try to jump in over them, trying to get their own idea out. So it was a lot harder for one person to try to control the conversation because everybody wanted to give their own idea. And this is the big one. Every single stakeholder needs to be an expert. The reason why is because what I said earlier. In our own experience with this JED session, it was hard to explain what the program will look like over and over and over again. And everybody had questions. Even when I explained it the first time, somebody else would come out and want to have it explained again because they didn't understand it very well. Well, this bogged down the session incredibly. It slowed us down to the point where it took several minutes to get everybody on board as to what was going on. And some people couldn't comprehend certain aspects of the program, so it was hard to get them, up to speed. There was a hard time explaining ideas and current programs, and that's because everybody wanted to take their own input and shove it into somebody else's idea. So when somebody would explain an idea, somebody else would want to give their idea at the same time, or try to fix, quote unquote, fix the idea that somebody else had already presented or was presenting at the time. And it was hard to get explain the current programs because everybody had a different idea or a different way of looking at what the program will be. So it was really hard, and that kind of goes in line with every single stakeholder being an expert. Here are some of our works cited pages, and I hope you enjoyed our presentation. Thank you very much.